before we get into anything, on the last week, the Patreon episode that we did, if you haven't signed up for the Patreon, link is in the description. Sign up for the Patreon for Uniball. $5 a month. You get bonus episodes every week, blah, blah, blah. All that good shit. On that episode, we talked about Aaron Rodgers running as VP for RFK Jr. We talked about him potentially being his running mate and what NBA players would vote for him. And I was explaining that to my girlfriend, who she does not watch sports. She doesn't really follow politics all that much. Mm-hmm. She does not watch sports, and she was only kind of half listening when I was explaining this to her. Mm-hmm. And she was like, who are they letting run as RFK Jr.'s running mate? And I was like, Aaron Rodgers. And she goes, Aaron Hernandez? And I was like,
you got to admit, get a lot of attention for the campaign if you announce Aaron Hernandez as his running mate.
Yeah, I thought it's a brilliant idea. Honestly, if we could reach out to RFK Jr.'s people, yeah. Aaron Hernandez, you'd get a lot of votes in New England at a minimum.
Yeah, there's a lot of criminal reform stuff to be had if you want to kind of,
mental health awareness,
new tough on crime, soft on crime,
anarchy, the purge.
The purge, yeah, exactly. Yeah. RFK should just lean in. Let's go.
But I absolutely lost it because I was like, first off, the only reason she knows who Aaron Hernandez is because we watched that documentary on Netflix years ago. And I was like, he's dead.
he's gonna be a lich. They're bringing the lich Aaron Hernandez back to
run
a political campaign.
Somehow would be less controversial than Aaron Rodgers running as his running mate, I would say. So, let's dive.
Played in more impactful NFL games over the past 10 years. Just saying. If we're measuring things, you know what I'm saying?
He never won a title, though.
Never won a title.
Nope. Ringless. Very sad. Ringless loser, Aaron Hernandez. That's what we'll remember him for.
That's, when they get to the general election, ringless loser Aaron Hernandez is dead. Can't even survive. How's he supposed to help the country?
Couldn't even get to the mountaintop with fucking Brady, Belichick. What a loser, dude. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Unbelievable. No. Bill O'Brien. Ridiculous.
They just didn't want it bad enough.
No, Aaron Hernandez did not want it enough. That's the lesson of this episode. If Aaron Hernandez wanted it more, he would have won a title.
Yeah, he just, he didn't have that killer instinct. Allegedly. According to the Boomer, that's the new Boomer. New Boomer
theory. Aaron Rodgers' Innocence Project.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Aaron Hernandez Innocence.
Well, I just love like just saying all the Aaron Hernandez things, but like he's Mo Bamba or like Wiseman or someone like that. You know what I'm saying? Like just like a normal bad player applying all the normal bad player things.
He was a bust. Yeah,
he was a bust. Like he didn't pan out.
Yeah, exactly.
He was overwhelmed. Real deer in the headlights look.
Yeah,
whenever he was out there.
All right. So now we'll talk about basketball.
Now we can actually start the show.
Now we'll talk about basketball. Now we'll talk about the most improved player because I figured this was an appropriate time as the season winds down. We have, 10 to 15 games left in the NBA season. We have all these awards that we're talking about, and Tyrese Maxey recently has been on a heater. The last 3 games he scored exactly 30 points in the last 3 games for the Sixers. And as we go down the stretch here for this season, I think most improved player is going to be one of the more debated. It's like an ideological argument at this point, right? Like at one point, this award was for players that kind of came out of nowhere and would make these leaps into, being like either perceived as like a bust or not a rotation player to being like a key contributor on not necessarily a good team, but just like a much improved player. Like it literally is in the name, the most improved player. You went from a fringe rotation guy to a solid rotation guy who's probably going to have a multiple year NBA career. And there is one candidate in this pool that is very clearly that guy this year, and that's Coby White.
Yeah.
And when you stack up Coby White versus Tyrese Maxey, coming into the year, Maxey was the guy that was on everyone's radar, right? Like he was third in odds. Do you remember who was ahead of him in odds for most improved player coming into the season?
Ben Simmons. No,
yes, Ben Simmons was number one.
Number one. I'm not sure. Cade probably was one.
Cade was number two. That's a good guess. And then the one, when I say, I'll just say it right now, but we were like, there's no way this guy will win, but Mikal Bridges was the other one because he made that like in-season leap, quote unquote. He had a heater at the end of last year after he got traded. I remember we talked about it in the preseason podcast. We're like, yeah, I mean, technically he could win, I guess, but he's also like 27 years old. Like,
yeah, he was never going to be that guy. You know, it's just very silly, very, very, very silly one.
Well, Nets fans are still mad at him on Twitter. I have Nets fans in my mentions. I did Nets fan in my mention last week because we were making fun of Bill Simmons for drafting Cam Johnson in the bad contract draft, and I was like, Cam Johnson,
awesome. That's so cool.
We literally almost took him in the value contract draft that we did on Patreon a few weeks ago, and I was like, he's making less than $100 million over the course of the 4-year contract. The number when it first came out was a bigger number, but eventually it settled somewhere in the 90s. So he's making like 20, just over $20 million a year. And we were like, okay, this is a guy who's like 6'8", an elite shooter, pretty decent athlete, can defend, can put the ball on the ground, would fit on a lot of really good teams. And I had Nets fans yelling at me. And I had one Nets fan that was like, Cam Johnson sucks. He's had a terrible year. He's trash. And I was like, you just put together a whole team of fucking role players.
Yeah.
And then you get mad at them for not being superstars.
Yeah. I mean, yes, he's going to suck at being the second best player in the league in like one of the deepest leagues. Second best player on your team in like one of the most. Yes, he's going to get his doors blown off by Jaylen Brown. But also Jaylen Brown makes like triple the money he makes, literally. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a starter. He is a solid starter. Like,
if he's your fourth best player, fifth best player, you might be able to make the NBA Finals, maybe, like the Phoenix Suns did a few years ago when they had two true stars at the top of their roster.
Yeah, I think if Mikal Bridges is your third best player and Cam Johnson is your fourth best player, I think you're in pretty good shape.
You're doing pretty well. Yeah, exactly. And he was like, this guy also tweeted at me and was like, well, he has Joe Harris deer in the headlights. He misses every big shot. And then I was like, he shot over 40% in the NBA Finals for the Suns a few years ago. Like, he
just hasn't been in enough big games. Yeah. He's not showing up for these Detroit Pistons matinees.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that time that he single-handedly kept the Nets in multiple games last year in the Sixers series, that was actually fake. All fake.
All right. Yeah. If you think Cam Johnson sucks, trade him for a second-round pick. I'm sure you'll get a taker.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, hey, you'll get off the contract. Like.
Yeah. I got a real kick out of that, but
fun.
For the most improved player cases here. Like I said, it's kind of an ideological, like, should the most improved player award go to a player like Tyrese Maxey, who is in his fourth season now, has slowly gotten better, statistically, obviously made a leap this year. If you watch the games, he's obviously just much better at everything. His self-creation is way, way better than last year. His mid-range game, his bag is deeper, his defense is better. His playmaking has taken a little bit of a step as well. He's improved in every single category that you would want, but I think the idea behind Tyrese Maxey winning this award and why people push back on it is basically because it's like, we all knew Maxey was going to be an all-star. Like,
yeah, he was also like, I mean, he's, like you said, way better dribbling, way better creation. He smoked too good, his bitch too bad. They'll kill you, Tyrese Maxey. the thing was he was actually pretty good last year too. You know what I'm saying? Like he was still better than a starter last year.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
He was in the All-Star conversation last year. He didn't make it, but he was sub All-Star last year.
Right. Like, and I think my pushback, and I think this is where you're going with this, to like Maxey being the most improved player, is I think this is just kind of a career arc for like a star player. You know, like he was very young last year.
Yeah.
That was his third year in the league.
Third year. He was 22, 23 last year, or 22. 22. He turned 23 this year. Yeah.
And it's his fourth year, and now he's an established All-Star. He's probably going to be in the All-Star conversation moving forward for at least the next, half decade, I would say. Probably longer than that. So I don't know. I think it's hard. I think you kind of need to – I think your career can't just look like an arc. You know what I'm saying? I think it's got to do a little bit of these. Yeah. For me personally, that's my personal philosophy. For those of you listening, I'm doing hands. Remember earlier in the pod when Trill told me don't move your hands? It's driving me insane. I'm doing it now. I'm making like a point of the peaks, the sharp peaks, the sharp falls. Someone like Lauri Markkanen was, like where Lauri Markkanen had some really bad seasons. He had some really good seasons, and he was kind of all over the place. And now it's like, okay, this is just one of the best shooters in the NBA all of a sudden. Like,
well, it's interesting because the Coby White case, and Lauri's a good example. Yeah. If you look at the history, it's actually a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of those guys and the guys that are obviously going to be stars. Let's just read off the recent history, okay?
That's exactly what I was about to Google.
Let's go back to 2010 when it was Aaron Brooks, okay?
Now, no way. Yep. Let's go.
Hey, you know what Aaron Brooks averaged that year?
I do remember he had like one year where he averaged like 20 points.
He had 19.6 points. Yeah. 5.3 assists on 43% from the field. For Aaron Brooks, a guy who, I mean, he doesn't fit the mold that we're talking about of the Tyrese Maxey of. It's just like logical conclusion. He was going to be this guy. He was a guy who was drafted a little bit later, had a decent career, like, had a few like decent seasons where he was like a starter level guard, but that was clearly something that we didn't expect, I should say. And then the award changed up a little bit because the next year, it's weird because it, like I said, it kind of goes back and forth where sometimes you get the obvious, future star, high draft pick guy. The next year's Kevin Love. So 2011, you get Kevin Love. But then 2012, you go back to Ryan Anderson, who had kind of similar to the Aaron Brooks kind of career where it's, more of a role player, someone who had a really good year. He averaged 16 points, 7 rebounds that season for the Orlando Magic. And then the next year is where it really, I wouldn't say it fully shifted, but it mostly shifted to what the award has become now. And it was Paul George in his third season in the NBA in 2013 won. And then after that, you get Goran Dragic, who, Goran Dragic only made one All-Star team in his career, but was in the conversation multiple years. Jimmy Butler, CJ McCollum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Victor Oladipo, Pascal Siakam, Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, John Morant, Lauri Markkanen. Now, the majority of those guys, I do just want to kind of differentiate here. The majority of those guys, when they won their most improved player awards, they ended up winning them because I don't want to say that they came out of nowhere, but like Julius Randle and Lauri Markkanen were guys that were kind of, on the fringes. Like Julius Randle was on his third team. Lauri Markkanen was on his third team when he won most improved player. And Victor Oladipo was another guy. It's more like got you by surprise award. I feel like we didn't think this guy, like at one point it looked like, I don't know, is this guy a bust? Is this guy not really going to be anything more than, a solid NBA player? And then boom, they have a great year. They make the All-Star team and they're exactly what we thought they were going to be coming out of the draft a few years ago. So there are a few of those on this list, whereas most of these guys like John Morant, Tyrese Maxey, even like, I mean, Pascal Siakam would probably fit more of that Julius Randle, whatever kind of thing. Giannis is in the same camp as Ja and Maxey, where I do think in general we need to get away from giving guys like Maxey the award, because like you said, my solution was this basically.
Okay.
Why don't we just make another award?
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah.
Why don't we because in reality, the guys that should be up for this award are the Coby Whites, the Goran Dragic's of the world. Jalen Johnson is another guy that would be a good candidate for this season, a guy that really made a leap from, like, by the way, was barely even in the Hawks rotation last year in year 2. And in year 3, I'm like, this guy's probably going to make multiple all-star teams at some point. So you have someone just said in the comments, Randall said, call it the Rising Star Award. I had either Rising Star or Next Up Award. Like, for guys like Maxey, guys like Ja, guys like Giannis, make the award. This guy's clearly going to be a multiple-time All-Star, a guy that really took a statistical jump from last year, because I don't really think people realize how much of Maxey's stats did jump this year. Like, I know obviously it's part of it is the role going up, and more shot attempts and more on-ball opportunities. But he went from 20 points a game to 26 points a game, 3.5 assists to 6.2 assists, 2.9 rebounds to 3.8 rebounds, and maintained a similar level of efficiency. He's taking 20 shots a game compared to 15 last year. He went from 48% to 45% this year, 38% from 3 from 43 last year. And the thing that's the most amazing about Maxey this year is the fact that despite these opportunities going up on the ball, he's still only turning the ball over at around the same rate. He had 1.3 turnovers last year, is 1.7 per game this year. So, like I said, establish a different award so that we can kind of be like, all right, here is the next clear either superstar that made a leap this year. Like, you could call it one of those things, or like the big leap award, or whatever it is. And then we'll have for the Coby White, Jalen Johnson, guys that were, like I said, on the fringes, bench players, guys we didn't know if they were going to be anything more than just like bounce around the league. And then they become legit starters or even potential all-stars like Jalen Johnson did this year. Have that award be separate, and have that award be the most improved player. So that's kind of the solution to this. It's like, by the way, I do just want to put it out there. We should wait until after the season to do this. We should wait to change the rules. We should wait to change the rules until Maxey can win.
I mean, this is how we've always done it. So, like, you got to give it to Tyrese Maxey.
Tradition, respect tradition. Reject modernity, embrace tradition. Tyrese Maxey should win. Tyrese Maxey should win most improved. And then next year, we can have this discussion and change the award.
Okay. I think that's fair. Right now, something else. My other thing, what I've been diligently working on here while you've while you were cooking, I've been going through and I've been parsing out what year all the winners won it in, and putting that together. Pretty much every single one of these guys is third or fourth year.
It's almost always that.
Yeah. So it's all, especially the star guys, like Kevin Love, third year, Paul George, third year, Jimmy Butler, fourth year, CJ, third year, Giannis, fourth year, Siakam, third year, Brandon Ingram, fourth year. Like, these are going right down the list. And then, like, Goran Dragic, eighth year, Victor Oladipo, fifth year. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Lauri Markkanen was in his fifth year too. Sixth year.
I didn't get to Lauri Markkanen yet. I think John Morant went in his second year, which is very
John Morant won in third year.
Third year, okay.
But he also won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, that's so silly.
So how many leaps do you have to make to go from Rookie of the Year to Most Improved Player in third year? I feel like you have to be like the best player in the NBA. Like, and if that's the case, then should we just change once again, that would have made sense if John Morant won the Rising Star Award that year.
Yeah.
It would have made a lot more sense, because it's like, okay, you can win Rookie of the Year and then also win Rising Star.
Right. Yeah. You're the best, you're the best guy who's like arrived. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like rookie of the year is like, oh, we're keeping an eye on you.
Yes.
And then you could like once a guy's like arrived as a star, then you might get into arguments. What I might argue is like, is Wemby the rising star already this year? You know what I'm saying? Because he kind of speed run the rookie and sophomore year slump. You know what I'm saying? And now he's like kind of here is like
actually, most improved player, if you really want to make the argument, is fall Wemby to spring Wemby.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
We're actually giving him both the rising star, most improved, and rookie of the year award. He's like I'm doing a bit, but also like there's kind of some validity to that in terms of like we haven't seen a rookie instantly become like he's already a top 15, 20 player, right? Like he's not gonna make all NBA. I don't think he's gonna make it.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna make it, but I would vote him all NBA. I think if I had a choice. Like,
all right, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
When was the last time a guy made all NBA and his team didn't win 20 games? I know it's not his fault. I'm just asking questions.
I don't think it has happened.
I don't think it's ever happened.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever happened.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. I point out he plays with Keldon Johnson and like Devin Vassell is his like ace in the hole good players. I know you like Devin Vassell, but like I'm rolling my eyes a little at.
I don't expect fourth year Devin Vassell and Wemby to be able to carry a team to 35 games in the modern NBA. Like it's just the reality is that like, and everyone, I keep saying this over and over, is like we can't compare the modern era to 10 years ago. No. You can't do it because it's like all right. So you can to be like, all right, the Warriors were a historically dominant team. I'm not taking anything away from those 2 years that we had 10 years ago.
I am Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Go on.
But like, we're talking about the Spurs who can't even win 20 games and compare that to the worst team in the league 10 years ago. like compare the worst teams in the league right now.
Yeah.
Like any given game, like the Pistons can hang with the Celtics or the Pistons can hang with the Bucks or the Sixers. Like it's not to say that the league itself, is just better talent wise, top to bottom, but like it's harder to project, I should say, where when I'm running down the schedule every night and I'm like, oh, well, like the Sixers next 5 games are against, the Hornets or what. The Hornets, I know Embiid didn't play, but like the Hornets with fucking the stapled carcass of a roster with fucking Trey Mann and Davis Bertans and Poku and Grant Williams push the Sixers, who honestly have been playing pretty well recently. All things considered, even with the Joel Embiid injury, like they've been hanging around 500 when the guys are healthy. So like I said, the level of talent that exists now, I feel like if that is the case, just generally speaking here, it is hard for me to get to the point where you could be like, let's put a guy whose team won 19 games onto All NBA, even if it's not his fault.
Yeah. I think like, I just think like I think it's if there is a guy, because the thing is there's not always a guy like this. If there is a guy who is available, who is a candidate, who is an older player, who is no longer on his rookie contract or anything like that, because there's not a Lauri Markkanen or a Julius Randle every year. You know what I'm saying? Like, and some years you do.
That's why they win it.
Yeah,
because it's the best. Those are the best of the both worlds, right?
Right.
Where you get the Coby White shock factor of, oh my God, this came out of nowhere, but also you get the fact that they made the All-Star team that year,
right?
Like Maxey did.
Yeah, I honestly, and while we're talking about it, they're like if Jalen Brunson had happened a year later, he would probably like be a perfect candidate, like if it were 2 years.
Well, he came in second last year, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He just happened to be one of the years that like Lauri Markkanen like also popped, but he probably would have been the That's pretty funny that the Knicks like had like two huge developmental like out of nowhere like
I know
guys. It's so funny that the Knicks are like,
and also they get Dante and Hart, both Hartenstein and Hart, like all just like popping on these like good contracts for them at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny how they're like pretty well run outside of like drafting.
Even the drafting, like, I mean, they've really only made like one high pick and they missed on it, but that's it. They've done well at the end of the first,
and the beginning of the second. This current regime, but I mean, like, I'm talking back
historically,
like,
sure.
Yeah, like they're it's just a smoke show. It's Obi Toppin and Kevin Knox and going back further, Frankie Smokes and all these other like
sure. Yeah. Well, let me get on my Homer hat here then.
Okay.
What's the difference between Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson?
Well, nothing this year. Last year,
what's the difference?
Jalen Brunson was not as good. Jalen Brunson like didn't start
because he was on a team with Luka Doncic and he was point guard and they would like to run.
There's two guys.
Do you know what Jalen Brunson averaged 2 years ago? Averaged 16 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. Maxey averaged 20 points. Like, it's like not that different is my point. Is that like, I think that it's a similar situation where they were playing with ball dominant guys, James Harden and Luka. Brunson happened to change teams and he was a little bit older when it happened.
Okay. So that was the one I was sitting on. The other thing is Brunson was 25 when that happened, and Tyrese Maxey won't be 25 for like 3 more years.
I was gonna say Brunson kind of incrementally got better over the course of his career, where like I wouldn't even say it was like his breakout season, but his age 24 season was the first year where you could look at his numbers and be like, okay, this is a legit 6-man starter level guy. And then it was age 25 where he started to be like, okay, this guy might be better than we originally anticipated. And then age 26 with the Knicks season. Yeah. So that's the argument that makes it different, is that he was older. He, once again, falls into the bucket of player that kind of came out of nowhere for his age, at least, and made these leaps to become this player. The Kyle Lowry, Chauncey Billups later in their 20s becoming stars as opposed to earlier in their 20s, which is very rare for guards. They're generally more like the Tyrese Maxey, Ja Morant, following that lineage of in your early to mid 20s, they really pop and they show it.
I mean, if we're going to talk about giving it to a younger player, though, shouldn't it go to Alperen Sengun instead of Maxey?
He definitely has a case. I mean, statistically, the jumps are similar, but he's just... The thing with Sengun is that we always said the statistical indicators were there with him, where we're like, man, this guy, like, if he gets an expanded role, if he has the ball more, all of that. But the jumps that he made this year are pretty... I mean, he jumped 7 points a game, so that's even more than Maxey did. He also jumped... he only jumped 1 assist per game. His stats are very, very good, and they're better than last year. And is a clear multiple-time future All-Star for sure. Mm-hmm. But this is where, if we were doing the Rising Star Award, it would probably be Sengun versus Maxey, right?
Yes, agreed. Yep.
It would be Sengun versus Maxey, and then in the Most Improved Player category, we would have Jalen Johnson,
Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen. Oh man, that's a good one. Most Improved Player, Grayson Allen. What is Grayson Allen shooting? It's
like 50%. Like, it's an absurd number. Let me look it up.
So that's another argument is, do we reward these these obvious outlier seasons?
Yeah, right. Yeah, where he's gonna come coming back down to earth after
he's shooting. A free agent this summer.
That's so funny, dude. Oh my god.
I wouldn't want to be the team that is like, let's give Grayson Allen $22 million a year.
Dog, he's been in the league 6 years.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
he's 28 years old. Like, in my mind, I thought he was like
4-year college guy.
Yeah.
He's a 4-year college guy. By the way, just adding to the absurdity of, if you want to continue. So we keep talking about, most of these guys that we've talked about are 2019, 2020, 2021 draft. Brunson and Grayson Allen this season just add to the absurdity of the 2018 draft. Like, Brunson is another all-star to add to the list from the 2018 draft. Also, Dante DiVincenzo having his breakout with the Knicks this year and going back to the Warriors last year in their mid-20s. Grayson Allen, like if you're to rank that 2018 draft, what are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at Grayson Allen's splits, but finish your point and we'll get to that.
Well, I'm just saying the 2018 draft, if you're to go back and look at that draft, I mean, there is going to be a time where I think we might get to the point where we're going to have 10 guys that have either made the All-Star team or played in the NBA Finals. Like from that, like right now it's Luka, Shea, Trey, Mikal Bridges, Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, RIP, Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm just sorting by VORP. Dante DiVincenzo, Michael Porter Jr., DeAnthony Melton, Grayson Allen. I skipped over Miles Bridges. Wendell Carter Jr. Like the absurdity and the depth of that draft is beyond what my brain can comprehend. How many good players have come out of that draft year?
Unreal draft. Great draft.
What is the Grayson Allen splits?
So he's shooting 69.3 true shooting percentage this year. So like that's like what centers who only dunk shoot. Like that's what Daniel, like the only person in the NBA shooting higher than him is true shooting is Daniel Gafford, who like doesn't shoot outside of the restricted area.
He's literally the run and dunk man.
Yeah.
Jump and dunk man.
You go down and it's all bigs. It's Zubac, Mo Wagner, Rudy Gobert, Obi Toppin, Jared Allen, Jalen Duren, Giannis, all the way down. You've got to go down to 13 to get to Sam Hauser, who's shooting 65%. He's still out, like, and then, Herb Jones right behind him, who's another guy who might be kind of on this list.
Herb would be another guy I would put on that list. Absolutely.
Another guy, I don't know. Aaron Nesmith, also another guy who
that's a good candidate.
Yeah, like who's
Chucking Darts this week. Chuck did his all improved teams. He did his most improved teams.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know if Nesmith was on there, but I know that the guys that were Herb Jones was on there.
Yeah.
Obviously Jalen Johnson and Coby White were on there. I honestly think, I don't know if the statistical jumps have been enough for Derek White, but I think he probably, if we were making an all improved team, right?
Yeah.
Like if we just did all improved first team, I think he would have to be on the list of guys.
I think this is like a watches games versus stats thing, because if you just go by stats, Derek White still had an insane shooting year last year, like kind of again, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it might not like bounce off the page the same way it does.
He's taking 2 more threes and he's making 20% more of them. So that's a pretty big jump.
That is pretty big. 20% more, 2% more.
I'm sorry, not 20%, 2% more.
I was like, wait, what?
Yes, she's making 20% more of his threes. Derek White is shooting 58% from 3 this year for Derek White. Good for him.
Good, let's go.
Yeah. Wow, you said that the Heat have devil magic.
Goddamn.
Beyond me.
But I feel like Derek's improvement is like all like creation stuff and like blocks and like all of these other like indicators. You know what I'm saying? Like.
He's averaging 3 more points a game. He's taking more shots. Same efficiency from the field, but he's shooting better from 3. I think his assists have gone up. 1 more assist per game. He's definitely a guy that should be in the conversation. Honestly, Sam Hauser's another guy. If we want to talk about the Celtics, I mean, he's more in the went from not being in the rotation really at all to like being in he's the 7th man on the Celtics now, 8th man.
Yeah. He's one of those guys though where like it's just everything is shooting with Sam Hauser, you know what I'm saying? So like, he'll be back to being like a bad player if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If
he has a bad stretch, he's unplayable. It's the Duncan Robinson corollary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good good comparable. These movement shooter like quick release guys, that they're all predicated on one thing. But like Grayson Allen, Aaron Nesmith, these guys have a little bit more to their game. You know what I'm saying? Like Grayson Allen, like Bucks fans wanted him like assassinated after the like, oh, I'm sorry, Grayson Allen couldn't stop Jason Tatum. Like, sorry that was bad. What do you want from him? Like maybe your stars should play better. I don't know.
Shots fired.
Saying. Yeah, maybe Chris Middleton should have done better. Oh, that's right. He wasn't playing in that series because he was hurt. Maybe he needs to be more available next time. Bucks fans.
Owned, absolutely owned. It's the best. It's the best ability. Everyone always says availability is the best ability.
Yep. I heard that on the right.
Suit up, baby. Yeah, suit up. You're going out there tonight, Sam.
Yeah.
They love that a lot.
Yeah. That's their favorite.
But no, to put a bow on this, and to just kind of run back to the original point, I will say, I think Maxey. So right now the betting odds, most sites have pulled this because Maxey was just running away with it.
Yeah.
So most sites have pulled it, but right now some sites have Maxey at -100, some have him at -320, and Coby is still at +230, +225. So I think he's got a shot. Like
I was gonna say, I mean, like, if you ask me, like, the first third of the year, like, Maxey, like, had it, you know what I'm saying? But he's just kind of, without Embiid in the lineup, he's just been kind of normal, you know what I'm saying?
No, you're wrong.
Normal for him, you know. I'm not saying
he's actually okay. So here's the thing. Okay. Pre All-Star break, yes. Post All-Star break, I think this has been the best stretch of his NBA career. This last. What? What are you gonna
say? You're Charlie with the whiteboard. Like it's just funny. Like
Mickey Mouse March.
Well, just you. Like it's funny you talking about Tobias Harris versus you talking about Maxey.
Well, Maxey could do no wrong.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And Tobias could do no right. So
Bluth. I love all of my children equally. I don't care for Tobias.
So all right, let's just pull up Maxey's stats since the All-Star break, because it has felt like I said, if you watched the Sixers Heat game last night, I have never seen him as impactful on both ends as a player in a big game like he was last night. Like he just has full control over his game. It's similar to what you were saying about Derek White, where like if you actually watch the games, the coverages he's getting, the gravity that he has as a player now. The thing is that Maxey's superpower before this year was he was this incredible off-ball guy. He was an insane catch and shoot guy. He could get downhill. He could attack gaps. He could, he was an unstoppable scorer if he was working off of the gravity of James Harden and Joel Embiid. Well, now teams are double teaming him the second he gets the ball, and he has to make the right read. He's been making the right read. He's been, like I said, his scoring gravity on drives, he's drawing multiple people to the ball, and he's either able to finish through contact, or he's able to just make absurd finishes in a way that, like, he's stronger, his touch looks better. He has been able to really lift his game up if you're actually watching the games. And the thing about him before this year is that outside of random hot shooting games, he could never carry the team whenever the stars were out. And when the stars are out this year, since they've gotten like a semblance of a normal team, they're like a 500 team right now when not half the team is dead, basically.
Yeah. I just looked at the numbers, and those are the two things that like jump off the page about like Maxey's year this year is that like one, free throw rate went through the roof, like went from 23 to like 28, and then the assist percentage is like a full 10% jump.
Yeah. And the turnover percentage isn't that much higher. It's
identical. It's almost identical. Yeah. So everything else is like identical except for like those two things, which are like huge razors, those are both indicators that he's making the team better. You know what I'm saying? Or scoring in ways that have star purchase. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The ways that stars are better. He's not just a role player. You know what I'm saying? Those are ways that you're that guy. When you have free throw rate numbers like that, assist numbers like that with turnover stuff that low. So, he's definitely the arrived star, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's interesting. I don't know. And this is Maxey's fourth year. So
this is Maxey's fourth year.
So he's going to be the latest in this list of multiple time all-stars that win it in their third or fourth year.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Coby White is hurt right now, so if he doesn't come back, Maxey's going to run away with the award because really it's like I said, This is the first time in his career he scored 30 points. I feel like that's not nothing, scoring 30 points in 3 straight games. 2 of the games that the Sixers did win in this stretch. And in the 10 games since the All-Star break, he's averaged 28 points, 5.2 assists, and 4.4 rebounds. If you watch the games, the defense is just way better than it was before. He's way more active off the ball. He's not getting, he doesn't get attacked as much on defense as he did in previous years. He's able to hold his own on an island more, whether it's in the post, whether it's on the perimeter. Like, he's just been a much improved defender, in addition to the fact that he is, he's bearing the star creation load, in addition to, being the second or third guy when the stars are healthy. And the thing about Maxey that's always kind of made him special is the fact that, you knew that eventually he could get to this point where he has that portable factor, where it's like, you can play him with Joel, you can play him without Joel, you can play him, off of a multitude of different kind of star wings and bigs. And he's never going to probably be, a good enough decision maker or playmaker to be the 1A on a team, but he might be a 1B or a 2A when you're talking about the fact that he can play with so many different kinds. So he could play with Jason Tatum or Kevin Durant, or even, off of another star guard like James Harden last year. Like, he has the ability, especially with the improved defense, to play across a lot of different positions. But last night in the Heat game, it was really kind of jarring to me, and it's been jarring to me to see the kind of coverages that he's had to deal with. And this is the first time in his career that he's had to deal with these coverages as the on-ball creator, and he's improved so much in terms of reading those coverages and making the right play and putting the ball in the right spot, whether it's, making the pass or creating for himself or whatever it is. So that has really been what has been the most impressive improvement for me from Maxey this year, and I think will make the team even better when Joel Embiid returns. But right now, like I said, it's probably going to come down to him or Coby White. In this Heat game last night, by the way, I don't know if you caught any of this game, the devil magic that was being cooked up in this game by Spo, full court presses, multiple different kind of zone coverages.
I saw Kyle Lowry throw himself over a man on the ground to grift a free throw. There's new innovations, Nobel Peace Prize in grifting.
Caleb Martin fell behind him and he caught the ball on a full court outlet pass from Maxey, which was fucking QB1 shit. And he caught it under the basket and jumped backwards and hit a fadeaway. A fadeaway grift. I've never seen a fadeaway grift.
A dirt move grift.
He got the and one and he made the free throw. I was and I had multiple Raptors fans being like, "You understand why Kyle Lowry's the GOAT now, right? And why we love him so much." And I was I also had multiple Sixers fans being like, "I can see why Sam loves Marcus Smart so much now."
Yeah, when you have that guy, you know what I'm saying? It infuriates you to play them. It's this is a rat. This is not basketball. This person is besmirching my game. I don't want them on the court. When they're on your team, it's I'll die for you. This is awesome.
Exactly.
Please do this. And you knew Kyle Lowry had that game circled, one, because the Heat took him away, and B, that this was some real Master Roshi versus Goku in the end of Dragon Ball. This is the Master returning. He's the rat returning to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that he raised, Master Splinter, and he taught them rat mode.
I've taught you my ways. I must go home to my native land of Philadelphia, where I was
Haywood
in the sewers.
It's time for you to show me what you have learned.
He fucking made Hayward Highsmith in the last. I looked it up. The last 3 weeks, Hayward Highsmith has not made more than 1 field goal in a game. He hit 3 threes last night. Okay, ready for this? Yeah. So that already made me insane. I mean, we were giving him wide open threes, but he hasn't even taken shots recently. And then the thing that drove me the most insane, I tweeted about it earlier today. Bam Adebayo, in his career, coming into this week, had made 11 threes in his NBA career.
Hit the Detroit one.
Sunday night, he hit a game winner against the Detroit Pistons from fucking 30 feet. It was near the logo, dude. It was so far out. this is as time expired to win that game and pull off some bullshit. And then last night against the Sixers, for the first time in his NBA career, made multiple threes in a game. He went 2 for 2 from 3 last night. I was just like, how do they keep inventing ways to drive me insane?
You're giving me a preview because that's like Heat Celtics round 2. Like that's what's going to happen. Round 2. Do
you know what seed they're in right now?
No,
they're the 8 seed right now.
Still?
Yeah. So last night, that was a big reason why that was a huge game for the Sixers, was because the Heat already won the season series with the Sixers. So if the Sixers lost that game, they're basically 2 down from the Heat. But because they won it, the Sixers are in the 6 seed, the Pacers are in the 7 seed, and the Heat are in the 8 seed.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about the Magic. I keep forgetting that the Magic are just good. You know, like so. They're
definitely the worst of the playoff teams, though. That's the thing. Is like they're gonna be like the 4 seed, but like I think they're the worst of any of the teams that are gonna make the playoffs.
No, they're not worse than the Pacers.
Yeah, you might be right. They might be better than the Pacers. But I don't know if the Pacers are gonna make the playoffs.
They might not.
Because the play-in teams, I don't even know if I can consider them.
They'll probably the Pacers and the Bulls and the Hawks are all kind of the same food group to me. I think all of those teams are dead on arrival. I think the Sixers getting Embiid back will be good. I think Miami's.
I mean, Jimmy Butler missed a 2nd straight game. Like they're just saving him again. They're cooking up some bullshit. Also, another thing. Remember, I talked about how when you just look at the schedule, it's hard to be like, oh, well, I look at the Sixers schedule and I go, man, these games are hard. And then I look at the Heat schedule and I go, well, some of these games are easy, but then they're in a dogfight with the Pistons the other night.
Yeah, right.
And then they lose to the Sixers without Embiid, but Jimmy didn't play in that game. But you never know when Jimmy's going to play. It's impossible to predict because you never know from night to night who's playing and who's not.
Right. Yeah.
It's just becoming harder and harder.
Anyone could go anywhere, and it's so interesting. Like, I don't think like the East is as matchup dependent as like the West is. That said, like whoever ends up the 6 seed, like you want the 6 seed, like
the Cavs.
You want the Cavs. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least to me, I don't know. I think.
Well, Donovan Mitchell's out for a week at least. Yeah. He might be out for 3 weeks, and if he's out for 3 weeks, I mean, we'll see. But like the Knicks could make it up to the 3 seed, and then you don't. I don't want to play the Knicks.
The Knicks outside. I want to play the Knicks less than the Bucks. I think the Knicks might be the second scariest team in the East, to be honest.
I said if I had to rank the teams that I would want the Sixers to play in the first round, least, the Celtics would be 1, the Knicks would be 2, the Bucks would be 3. And then after that, like Cavs, Magic, Pacers, they can't play half those teams. But if they run into those teams, like I feel pretty good about their chances. I would not want to run into, and this is actually a perfect segue to what we were going to talk about next, which is who's going to benefit the most from these new rules in the NBA, but that they're just instituting halfway through the season without telling us. And I feel like
LeBron James and Steph Curry in the playoffs. New rule. Yeah, give them physical tools to play.
We're gonna get LeBron James. We need actually. Now that you bring that up, I'm glad you brought it up. Mm-hmm. Do you want to just do the next hour on the Warriors and the Lakers? The the most talked about 9 and 10 seed in the history of the NBA.
Yeah, one or both of them are not making the playoffs, but we should probably talk about them a little bit more.
Yeah. We should fill up all this airtime and never talk about the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, that was the exact example I was going to make. Like, what the fuck? Nobody talks about the Kings, and I get it, but like they're the 6th seed. You know what I'm saying? And everyone's jacking themselves off over the Mavericks and the Suns. It's like, oh, these teams are scary if you get them in a dogfight. It's like, okay.
Star power, baby. Someone tweeted at me, Warriors fan tweeted at me, it's the face of the league tax. LeBron and Steph.
Yeah,
you gotta talk about them.
Enjoy it for this next 6 months. Yeah,
6
enjoy
months.
Your face of the league tax when Steph is in Charlotte reviving the Hornets.
You really are Bill. It's unbelievable. Bill Maher
right.
is what I meant.
Bill Maher, yeah, Bill Maher.
Dun, dun, dun.
Saw Bill Maher at the Chicago Theater. He absolutely crushed it.
Then I went and I got a taco tower.
More margaritas. I got flowers at Tanta. God, that video is so good. Everyone thinks we're insane, but anyway,
we are insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, which teams will benefit and / suffer from the new style of foul calls is what I had written down here. The Knicks are the obvious answer for the team that will benefit from this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you caught any of this Warriors-Knicks game. Josh Hart played all 48 minutes in this game. Deuce McBride sat for 1 minute and 30 seconds and played the rest of the game.
They just have McBride like match Steph in minutes. You know what I'm saying? Because doesn't McBride guard Steph kind of well? Or
they had McBride match Steph, Clay, Pods.
Yeah.
Name a guard. He was out there. They sat him for 1 minute and 30 seconds. He wasn't even in the rotation like a month ago. And they're literally just like, we saved you for this moment, Deuce McBride. He's on the student loan scam Lou Dort special contract. Yeah. Where they have like, fuck it, we're paying you $14 an hour to go out there. To go out there and risk your knee cartilage every night and sacrifice it to the Tom Thibodeau gods.
They got him swiping cards at the school cafeteria after the game. This is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, dude. Free my homie Deuce. But
Tibbs is a terrorist, dude. Like straight
absolutely,
up. Like, he's a terrorist. Like they're the terrorist ball team. Like that is like what's gonna happen. Like
they're taking the. Yeah. If we get Knicks Magic first round, it's going to set back basketball like 45 years.
We're going to get some like 56-43 final scores.
You missed the 2004 Eastern Conference Finals. You're getting them again in the first round. Yeah. Leading scorer, Jalen Brunson, he averages 29 points a game and he scores half their points.
Yeah.
At one point last night, I'm not even kidding, he had 30 points and they had 65 points. I was like, he has like all their fucking points, dude. It's unbelievable. Yeah. But yeah, so the Knicks are obviously, dude, I am honestly credit to them. I think Knicks fans were getting mad at me on Twitter about this. I'm just in awe of what they're able to get away with. I honestly think it's beyond what the Miami Heat are able to get away with. During the Sixers Heat last night, I was a little bit surprised that they weren't calling fouls on either end. Like I said, they were letting shit fly. Like I was like, I'm fine with it if for these bigger games because we're getting ready for the playoffs anyway.
Yeah, sure.
And like, it
is more fun. I'm sorry, it is more fun. Nobody likes watching free throws. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. So here's the thing: I don't like I just want a balance. Like I don't want everything to be called, but I also don't want nothing to be called. And it feels like we've shifted the pendulum so far, so fast that my brain hasn't even adjusted to being like, oh my God, Kyle Lowry literally just shoved Hayward Highsmith and they just don't, and he lost the ball and they just don't call it at all. And like the Knicks are going to be the team that benefits the most. That Kings Knicks game the other night, Sabonis was like, they were punching him in the face basically. Dude, it was astonishing what they were able to get away. Like I was like, the big play that everyone remembers is the Pistons game a few weeks ago when Dante DiVincenzo tackled Asar. Yeah. They do that like 6 times a game though. It's like this isn't like a one-off thing. Like they're literally throwing elbows. Like the Thibs-led New York Giants are going to bring back single-handedly bring back 80s, 90s basketball because they are just punching people in the face. It is, and they're definitely going to be the team that benefits the most. And it's honestly, it's perfect timing for them right before the playoffs.
This is what I'm saying though. Do you think that this continues like into the playoffs? Like I'm sure it's like stays physical, but I don't know if.
Well, the playoffs are always more physical.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know. Like then again, it is a New York market. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, do they really? I was gonna say, does the league really want the Celtics to like lose in round 2 to like the overly physical Knicks? And it's like, Maybe that's a pretty big market. You don't get your American superstar Jason Tatum, who quote unquote loves playing all the games.
Yeah. We missed the Wizards game last night. I can't believe him. Or whoever you guys were playing.
Yeah, it was the Wizards. Yeah, I think was it the Wizards? No, the Wizards game was the other night.
He doesn't.
I was too busy watching my alma mater lose their first tournament.
Sorry, they played the Pistons without Cade, which honestly that makes them better. So
dangerous. They're like an 8 seed when they don't have Cade. So oh boy. But by the way, I'll be rooting for whoever is up against the Yale Bulldogs in round 1. You have my sword. Demon team.
I mean, you have to know at this point, Sam, every spring there will be an evil force.
I'm so mad, dude.
Sam's for anyone who doesn't know, Sam went to Brown, and Brown lost to Yale in the Ivy League finals the other night in the most Reggie Miller, Tracy McGrady scores 8 in 12 seconds shit.
I was so mad, dude. I can't believe I literally texted all my friends and I said, barring a huge collapse, we're going to the tournament for the first time in 30 years. And my friends who don't watch basketball turned on the game just to watch that collapse happen. And they're all like, what the fuck?
How do you not learn from diaper mode?
I don't know. I thought it would be different. I don't know. I thought it would be different. I'm just saying we were robbed of the most dangerous 14 and 17 team the tournament has ever seen by Brown not making it.
No, they weren't even 500.
They weren't 5. No, they had 13 wins going into the Ivy League championship. They're never going to do it. I'm just saying, like 30 year, Will likes to make fun of me for my teams being good at everything. They haven't made the tournament in 30 years. There's 8 teams in the Ivy League. Well,
I know you're so locked into every Brown University basketball game.
I am. I went to every game and they sucked. It was like being a Kings fan. It was awesome. Anyway,
I was going to say Sam's friends who's a fan of the Atlanta Falcons texted him and said, "I feel bad for you for this collapse."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I know how it feels.
I know how it feels.
One day you're gonna be able to Google famous Brown alum, and it's gonna be CIA Jim from The Office.
Yeah.
Joe Paterno.
Laura Linney. Hold on. If you're giving us Joe Paterno, we got to get Laura Linney.
And Sam Sheehan.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Sheehan.
I mean, I couldn't imagine going to school that is related to Joe Paterno.
Yeah, I would do. Yeah. Who would do such a thing? No way.
Unbelievable.
Anyway, yeah. I physically, I just don't know. I wonder, like, about, like, because we actually do have a lot of, like, star power. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of star power in the league, and I think they do want that to shine, like, in the playoffs a little bit. So I don't know if it'll be quite as, like, because you're right. It's been mudball for, like, fucking, like, you know, everyone's running halfback dive here for like the last like 3 weeks. I think it'll tighten up a little bit in the playoffs. You know, like I don't think it's going to be exactly the same. I think it'll be about what it was last year.
Part of the reason why the Heat are successful is they're physical. I think they'll benefit from this. I think the Knicks will benefit from this. I think the teams that will benefit from this are the teams that they play the rat mode style, the Tibbs, the Spo ball. Of, you know, just being super like very, very predicated on rebounding, very predicated on like throwing your elbow into someone's neck and possibly, you know, sending them to the hospital. Those kind of things.
Timberwolves might benefit from this a little.
The Timberwolves could benefit, especially if Karl Anthony Towns doesn't play.
Right.
I would imagine the West. It does feel like the West teams are a bit more finesse than the East teams. Like the East teams are playing a lot. Like any given night,
historically always been like that.
Yeah,
like the East is where the gross, the old the bad boy Pistons, and then the
Showtime Lakers.
Yeah, exactly. Showtime Lakers. Yeah,
the finesse and star power on the West.
I mean, you have the Warriors who like you know that's always been the thing is it's been like.
Although Draymond was psycho enough for like 7 players.
I was gonna say, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Draymond possessed so much psycho energy. It was able to just pour over the rest of the team as they were like fucking figure skating around the court. As they were just like gliding around, catching and shooting. Draymond was just a ball of fucking negative energy.
Yeah, you have different levels of state violence, right? You've got Steph Curry calling the shots at the top, displacing people with NIMBY rules, and then you have his Pinkerton, Draymond Green,
enforcing all of those things.
Yeah, enforcing everyone. So
going door to door. Yeah.
God, I can't wait for Steph to get into politics.
By the way, did you see Draymond's whole thing about on his podcast where he was talking about Kyrie and he was like, a lot of people talk about KD being this like amazing scorer, but like Kyrie's really the one we have no answer for that can just like do everything. And I was like, why do you just always use your podcast to take shots at Kevin Durant?
That's what I was like just gonna say. Like, I feel like Durant, like, because all players like love Kyrie. Like the players, like Kyrie just must like the players just know. So you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it's like we can talk about this all we want, but like Kyrie is special, obviously, in a way that like all of the.
I mean, that game winner the other day was like every once in a while you get a moment, where you're just like, oh, this is why everyone loves Kyrie. Like,
right,
one of the most difficult shots I've ever seen to win a game against the defending champions.
It literally looked like he lost it going up. You know what I'm saying? Like he flailed like he lost it going up, but that was just the shooting motion he had to make that work.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It's the DeMar, but DeMar and KD usually fall into that bucket too. But I guess the personal beef with Draymond and KD is he has to use him as the punching bag. Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's like KD's gotten his flowers, and he's like Draymond. Draymond's just going to be Draymond. Well, this is what I don't understand. Is like they hated each other when he left the Warriors, but then they made up and they had they did those podcasts together, and they were like cool again. They were going out and getting drunk together in San Francisco and all that shit. And then all of a sudden he just hates KD again. Like he just hates KD because KD was like, you probably shouldn't punch people in the face. We all have that friend, don't we, folks? We all have that one friend that just won't stop punching people in the face, and the other one tries to hold him accountable. Yes, man, I can't go out with you if you're going to keep doing that. Stop. We're in our 30s, man. Like, we can't do that anymore. Draymond's still in the phase where he's like, everyone else is the problem. Oh, right, yeah. Fucking Kevin Durant. All right, chill out, dude. Jesus Christ. Oh, man. It's pretty good. By the way, shout out to LeBron James for forming even more social links. He's collected another one. JJ Redick? Yeah, JJ Redick. The Wine Dad podcast? God, that's awesome, dude. It's so funny. I basically the entire first episode was LeBron doing Jason Tatum propaganda. And I'm guessing he wants to get Jason Tatum to the Lakers after the next contract or something, but it was very weird. It was very bizarre for him to just be doing Jason Tatum propaganda on the podcast. Sam's leaving out an important part of this conversation. What's that? The Celtics, quote, got Porzingis and Drew for a bag of potato chips. Jeez. He's got you in a headlock. LeBron James, the greatest player of all time, has you in a headlock. Gotten to is my response. Gotten to. Didn't like just like Draymond was taking shots at KD, who is the one who lives in his head. Marcus Smart lives in LeBron James's head. I was like, if Sam hears this, it might actually kill him. Not only Smart, but also Robert Williams. He's just. Rob, it's fair. Yeah. Rob is just hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's a bummer, but it is what it is. But the Marcus Smart got ejected, and he wasn't even in the game. That's leadership. He said more like NBA baby food. There we go. Got him. No. Next time I've already gotten 2 DMCA strikes on my new account, so if I get suspended again, that might need to be the new one is NBA baby food. Hold on, you've already gotten 2 strikes. Why don't you just create a fake account like I do, and have the video stash? I guess I don't know.
I don't want to go
not
through
worth
all
it?
that. It's not worth it. I want to post weird TikToks. I'm sorry. It's fun. It's funny to me. Like posting.
It takes 5 seconds to have another account. Just go.
Yeah,
That's what I
don't get the
do.
good likes. I don't get the good likes.
All right,
Oh,
I'll
you
show you
just
how to
tweet
do
it
it
from the other
later.
thing.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ. Yes. Yeah, you tweet the
I
video.
see.
I sometimes
get it.
forget that you're 55 years old. Sam's like, Discord.
I'm 76.
Yeah, Discord's a little bit too. I'm a little too old for Discord. But anyway, here's a TikTok I found.
Yeah, exactly. It's the things I like to figure out. Yeah.
All right.
I don't video game. I don't do this Discord video game stuff. I hate video games.
Yeah, I know. We know if there's anything we know about you, it's that you despise video games. So yeah. Anyway, let's just wrap up teams that will suffer from the new foul calls, because I think the teams that will benefit are pretty obvious, right? So teams that will suffer from the new foul calls, if the Knicks and Heat are the teams benefiting, because I think those are the two obvious ones. The teams that will suffer from the fouls being called tougher, I think will probably be... So outside of Giannis, is there really anyone like, because the thing is that I think teams like the Sixers and the Bucks could suffer because of this, because their offenses were kind of built around their guys getting to the line, and if they're not calling as many, but the thing is that the Celtics. So one reason why the Celtics might not is because the Celtics are a team that isn't predicated on getting to the rim and the line. They have elite jump shooters, and when the league gets more physical, the jump shooting's actually more beneficial for this kind of shit, because you don't get as many fouls on jump shots. Like, it's part of the reason why the Warriors offense was always transferable from the regular season to the playoffs. Even when things got physical, even when things got tough, they always had elite jump shooters to fall back on and shot creators to fall back on. Whereas I feel like when the game gets more physical, the teams that really suffer are the teams that are like, they need to get to the line all the time, and like they get to the rim a lot. And like Damian Lillard, we just, as of the other day when I was streaming, it was his free throws pre All-Star break were 10 free throws attempted per game. Post All-Star break, it was 7. So a 3 free throw Giannis will be fine, because Giannis actually does get fouled. Like, I'm not arguing that he doesn't get fouled.
Yeah.
But
because he's allowed to travel.
That too. Yeah, that as well. But Aaron does bring up a good point. Giannis actually could suffer from this because teams will just try to injure him now. Like the Knicks and the Heat, like what the Heat did last year. Like you could just be so much more physical now that guys that can beat in Giannis might actually suffer because they're just going to be going at them so hard.
Yeah, especially big guys. You can get away with. It's like easier to like injure big guys because you can just run at them on every play. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Porzingis might be the thing that I'd be most scared of.
What I was gonna say. Yeah. Now I did see a stat though. Celtics are like have an 11 net rating without Porzingis though. So like, I don't know. Maybe they'll be okay without Porzingis. Honestly, I think they probably need him for Denver, but they might be able to get out of the East without him. I don't know. We'll see.
It's definitely possible. I mean, the thing is if you think Horford can scale up enough still at his age in the playoffs, that's the real question.
Tillman's like not good. Like, people freak out too much about Tillman and like are too extreme about Tillman, but Tillman gives them another body and a guy who can do like some stuff. You know what I'm saying? Where that hurts less. You know what I'm saying? When it was just Luke Cornett, I was like, but like having Tillman instead of like Lamar Stevens makes a big difference to me, I think. Like, it's not as drastic.
Lamar Stevens actually was balling out against the Sixers like a week and a half ago, so
let's go.
Unbelievable. This Mickey Mouse bullshit. I fucking hate Mickey Mouse March sometimes. It's like, Lamar Stevens scoring. I watched him play at Penn State. I don't think I ever saw him play as well offensively as he did, even in college. Like, come on.
What was the one you retweeted? One with the Disney, like you retweeted some.
It was Hauser.
Hauser
made like 11 threes in 3 quarters the other night.
Yeah. He got hurt in like the third quarter.
Yeah,
but he left the game with 30 points because he hit 10 threes.
It was unbelievable. I was to be fair, at least Hauser is an elite shooter. So like sometimes you just have those insane shooting nights.
Yeah.
We'll do either a Patreon or a free episode where we do our all Mickey Mouse March teams. There are some amazing candidates this year. Like fucking Delano Banton, the Parm favorite.
That was the one. That was the one I thought you did. The Delano Banton one. No? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I did the I quote tweeted a tweet about Delano Banton's March, and I did it with a woman wearing a blazer. And it was a Mickey Mouse blazer, which that was the joke, because that he's a Mickey Mouse blazer because he's on the Blazers now.
There we go.
Please clap. Please clap. But yeah, so I think if we're talking East teams that could suffer, I think it's probably honestly the Cavs struggled with the physicality of the Knicks last year. I would imagine they're going to struggle with the physicality of a lot of these teams. The Pacers could struggle because they're kind of, I don't, at least Siakam might give them a little bit more of a rock fight element kind of player where like he can get into like those tougher games, and Nesmith too. But most of their stuff is built around Halliburton, Miles Turner. Those guys are not physicality. They're trying to beat you with finesse. Yeah. We'll see, especially because they have a lack of real jump shooters right now with having traded Buddy Hield. And their offense has struggled since Halliburton's lost a little bit of juice here down the stretch. So I kind of think they could suffer from this. And then if you want to go out west, I feel like what teams would struggle from, I don't really know. The Thunder, because the Thunder are another team that requires getting to the line a lot.
That was going to be my other one, was the Thunder, just because like, also because like Chet foul trouble, you know what I'm saying? Like where he's also like kind of thin and.
You gonna say this every week?
Yeah.
He doesn't get into foul trouble. I know
you're into foul trouble, but
we'll see.
We'll see.
Well, if they're not calling fouls, maybe he could be more physical. Although
I guess that's what I'm saying. He gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like if Chet gets hurt, I think they're in a lot of trouble. And they are a good jump shooting team, though, as Bills points out in the comments. So
I feel like New Orleans might be really benefit from this. Zion, Valanciunas, Herb Jones, like they got a Najee Marshall. Like they got a bunch of dogs. Jose Alvarado.
Yeah.
Like Jose Alvarado is spiritually a New York Knick or a Miami Heat.
I feel like the Pelicans are existing in this. They're like Schrodinger's playoff team right now, like where they exist in a state of superposition where everyone no one in the NBA media wants to get burned, but everyone's like looking at them like.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm so conflicted because I'm going a lot of my picks in the playoffs this year are just going to be going on gut feeling. And my gut feeling is that they're kind of like the Cavs of last year, where they have like this great net rating, and their top players are playing really well, but they don't really fit together all that well. And I just kind of think that when you get into the playoffs, especially in the Western Conference, where everyone has elite talent from top to bottom, that you having the best 10 players isn't going to matter as much when the rotations are shorter. When, it comes down to who are the best players truly on the court. And my gut feeling with the Pelicans is that I can't trust them and that the nerds are going overboard like they did with the Cavs last year. But that we'll see how they play down the stretch, because they've been, like I said, Zion. I don't know if you saw the clip of Zion the other day, but he was like, I'm a competitor. I want to win. And everyone was like, what is this voice you're doing? My whole thing is I need a documentary of the number one overall picks from like 2013 to 2019. Like the Anthony Bennett, Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns, Zion, Simmons, Fultz, all those years. Ayton. I need to know what happened during that year. I feel like that's like a fucking sociological experiment we need to run and see what the fuck happened with these number one picks from 2013 to 2019. They're the strangest stretch of number one picks. We talked about this the other day in the group DM. Between all those guys combined in their career so far, they have 3 combined All-NBAs, and one of them was Ben Simmons last full season with the Sixers when he was somewhat normal. Like that's got to be the lowest for number one overall picks.
Yeah. It's been a rough go of it for the number 1 picks. Zion might be back
until he might be. Zion, yeah. I'm not giving up on Zion yet because he's still 24 and he's look, man, on his best
not
night,
even 24 yet. He's 23 and change. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. And I think he just turned 24.
I think it's 24 in July, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's 23. Like, I'm not giving up on him. And like I said, you catch him on the right night, you're like, oh, this guy's a superstar. But the consistency is what I really have to see from him. And he's, like I said, he's been putting it together over the last few weeks. I hope that they lean into the point Zion thing. I hope they lean into let's run everything through him because we're not winning a playoff series running our offense through CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram. Like, those guys need to be complementary guys. They need to fill into their roles. Even Jonas Valanciunas, like we talked about this in the Discord the other day, like Larry Nance is kind of washed. Their center rotation's pretty bad right now. But the thing is, with Larry Nance, at least the ball moves when he's on the court. If Jonas Valanciunas touches the ball, it's like Tobias Harris. It's like the possession's over. Like it's like he's either shooting or it's a turnover. Like it's Bobby Portis, it's Tobias Harris, it's Jonas Valanciunas is the center version of those guys. Where if he touches the ball, the possession is ending with the ball either in his hands, in the basket, or out of bounds, or in the other team's hands. So, yeah.
Man, I didn't realize Larry Nance Jr. is 31.
Yeah, I mean, he was an older guy. He was like a 4-year college guy.
Yes, he did play with Kobe. Like, so.
Yeah, 2015, right?
Yeah.
His rookie year.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, Larry Nance. But the someone did point out in the comments, if we do want to talk about jump shooting being kind of a way to curtail some of the physicality, the Thunder have a lot of good jump shooters. We'll see how real that jump shooting is when we get to the playoffs. I love Kaysen. I'm skeptical that he's just already a 42% 3-point shooter or whatever. Dort,
let's go.
Dort, I'm like not positive that's real. Although he did have random playoff games where he would go off whenever they made and then he had the play-in game last year where he made like 6 threes. He's kind of like a Marcus Smart shooter.
I was just gonna say he's got dog. You know what I'm saying? Like he's kind of a dog shooter where like
he's not.
He'll miss the low leverage shots, but like he'll hit like big shots like when it's important. Yes. Yeah.
Just like Marcus Smart.
Just like Marcus Smart, correct.
Thank you. Oh my God, we've gotten so much Marcus Smart propaganda on the podcast. But I had an observation during the game last night.
Yeah.
The Sixers have it's the Buddy Hield thing where during a Sixers game, I called this on the stream last night. First quarter, there's 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Buddy Hield takes his first shot of the first quarter and he misses a 3. And I go, oh no, he missed his first 3. It's going to be a long night. It's a cold shooting Buddy night. He could finish like 2 for 7. And he finished the game 2 for 7. I was like, you can tell when Buddy Hield is about to go 5 for 6 or 2 for 7 based on his first shot going in or not. He literally is the definition of a guy that needs to see the ball go in. So I'm hoping the Sixers shooting honestly kind of, like I said, curtail some of this physicality stuff because they have a lot of really good shooters now.
I think you guys are going to be dangerous in the playoffs. Like Embiid hasn't played with Buddy Hield, right?
He hasn't played with Buddy Hield. He hasn't played with Kyle Lowry. Yeah, he hasn't played with a few of these guys. It's how weird is that though? We were trying to think of a historical precedent for what's happening with Embiid right now. And I was like, I can't ever. The closest one we could find was Jimmy Butler in his season with the Timberwolves. He tore his meniscus in March and he had to come back for the playoffs and he actually rushed back. It was like 6 or 7 weeks. He was at gut surgery. He was out 6 or 7 weeks. He rushed back and he wasn't quite the same in the playoffs, but like,
didn't they win the last game of the year though? They beat the Nuggets
to get in. Yeah. But they were like, it's the same thing with the Embiid thing. They were a top 4 seed in the West and then Jimmy got hurt and they lost a ton of games and then they fell to the 8 seed.
Okay, yeah.
That's what happened that season. But I was like, can you imagine just being like, all right, first game, Kyle Lowry, Buddy Hield, campaign, and Embiid are playing together, and the playoffs are next week. It's not a lot of time to ramp up. Like he's going to be back. They said they're hoping that he's going to be back the first week of April or the second week of April. And I'm like, if he's back the second week of April, we're literally going to have 3 games before potentially playing in the play-in.
It's fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
He's a guy who gets into shape fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Back into shape. Very quickly.
Honestly, I will say I'm going to be devastated if they lose in the play-in or in the playoffs or whatever. But it does feel a little bit nice to have a cop-out this year.
Yeah, it's just
what are you gonna do? Oops. Oh, they didn't win. Oh, I'm like, it feels kind of nice to be like, well, they didn't have a chance because Embiid fucked his knee up and they didn't get to play together. So, built-in excuses, baby. We love to see it. All right, let's hit on our last 2 points here before we get out of here. So we have, by the way, this is just something I've noticed. This entire season, the podcast cycle is literally everything is built around Jokic and the Nuggets. It's actually kind of insane. Like if you beat the Nuggets, you will get an entire podcast cycle about are the Wolves contenders? Are the
Mavericks the most dangerous team in the bottom half of the East? Yeah, or West. I mean,
are the Mavericks the Suns beat them recently, and everyone was like, "Oh, the Suns." Listen, they beat them in overtime. They're winning like 1 possession games.
That made Bill go look at their championship odds, which is so fucking funny. Bill watched them and was like 27-1, not bad.
Dude, they talked about it so you probably didn't get to the end of the Bill and Russillo podcast. But the end of the Bill and Russillo podcast, they were talking about how I actually thought they were completely spitting on this episode. But they were saying that like sports used to be a little bit more fun before it was like you could like prove everything wrong with numbers.
Yeah.
And he was like, baseball used to be more fun when you could just be like, yeah, Nomar versus Jeter, and you're just going based on like, well, this guy is better at this. Like it's basically vibes. Exactly. Yeah. It's like the eye test, like, whatever. Yeah. And he's like, but then all the advanced stats were like, actually, this guy's way better than this guy, and you're a fucking idiot if you disagree. And it's like, okay, well then this is no fun. Like, what are we going to argue over? Like, there's really nothing to argue over.
Well, that's why you've got to have the blood of a contrarian like me, and
exactly.
Just got to want it bad enough to say something like, actually, the Celtics lost the Marcus Smart trade where they got Chris Porzingis for free.
Sometimes you're going to get a heater where you're like, look, the Heat getting Damian Lillard is bad, and that would have probably been bad. And then sometimes you're going to get the Kings could beat the Nuggets in a playoff series.
I had bad vibes because I didn't account for the fact that Domantas Sabonis is one of the most fraudulent freaks of all time.
Oh, come on. Domantas Sabonis is the reason they lost the playoff series, and also they would have beat the NBA champions if he wasn't.
If he was normal. Yeah.
You're unbelievable.
Normal. If he was
normal. I was telling you last year, I was like, Sam, please stop. That was one where you went too far. In the moment, you went too far. But yeah,
I still believe it. I think if they had beaten the things, they were going all the way. If they had beaten the Warriors.
Oh, so they would have beat the Warriors, then the Lakers, then the Nuggets, and then the Heat.
Yeah. Malik Monk had a plan for me. Yeah, Malik Monk had a plan for me.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
So on that episode, they were talking about, and this was actually a point of, they didn't really know how to decipher stats, where first off, Will pointed this out, when Bill says the advanced stats, he really just means on-offs. It's the only thing he ever, because he'll be like, yeah, the advanced stats really like Kawhi. They're a +9 per 100 when he's on the court. And I'm like, that's not the only advanced stat, Bill. It's like, there are a multitude, just like Russillo will do with BPM, where he's like, oh yeah, the advanced numbers really like whoever the point guard is that gets a ton of assists and points, like whatever.
Yeah, they don't have Kevin sending us darker regressions.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't have a stat team like YKB does. Yes. I don't think Cerruti is up in fucking EPM on dunks and threes cooking shit up. No. But the reason I say this is because they were discussing, he was like, Bill was like, but I just don't feel like the Suns guys fit together. And Russillo was like, well, they're plus 10 per 100 possessions when all of them are on the court. And then I was like, that's not that good though. Like that's where it's just a misunderstanding of the stat. If you're a playoff team, if you're a contender, and your 4 best players are on the court together, and you're a plus 10 per 100 possessions, there are other teams like the Celtics and the Bucks and the Sixers and the Warriors when they were really good. Those teams were like a plus 20 per 100 possessions because they were just destroying bad teams.
I think he went on to say, because I think he was doing 4-man lineups with that. Like I don't think he did the Nurkic. I think he did Allen and the 4 things. And he said, I think he said they were 5th in the NBA. And it's like, okay, but you have to take context with that. You have the worst bench like ever. Like ever, you know what I'm saying? Like because of your team construction, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So like even if that's true and you're winning those minutes, like those guys just have to play all the time. Otherwise you get destroyed. That number needs to be like plus 30 if you're a weak bench team, or you know what I'm saying? Or like plus 20. Yeah, at least like plus 20. You know what I'm saying? So,
the Sixers' 4 best players this year, when they were all healthy, they were, I mean, once again, smaller sample because they only played like 400 minutes together or whatever.
Yeah.
But they were like a plus 28. They were like running these bad teams off the court. And then it made their fucking, and yes, maybe as a 4-man group in a smaller sample, because those guys are never healthy together, is the other thing. It's like if Booker misses 2 weeks and then he comes back and then Beal misses a week, and then the only guys that are healthy from that 4-man group are Grayson Allen, KD, are those 2 of that 4-man group, then yes, the numbers might look a little bit better, but everyone's best players are going to be playing in the playoffs together. And that's why some of this regular season, like on-off stuff doesn't always scale to the playoffs, because you're playing against the best. You're not playing against the Charlotte Hornets. What do I give a fuck about you beating the Charlotte Hornets by 50 points in December? If like it's the exact reason why the Bucks before they got Drew were terrible in the playoffs every year. It was because they were beating the shit out of really bad teams. And then they would get to the playoffs, and then when everyone else scaled up with all their best players, they were able to match them and slow down their half-court offense. So it's just it's funny to me that it's like there is this cognitive dissonance between, like, because someone's 3 or 4 best players together play really well together doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to win the NBA championship because of that.
Yeah. I was trying to like quickly run the numbers, but the NBA tool seems to have gotten rid of like the.
I could run the numbers. Wowie combos are my.
Oh, does Wowie work again? It didn't work for a little bit. Oh, it was like giving me weird numbers for a while there.
That's all I use.
Okay.
Yeah, but like Milwaukee, it's the same thing I talk about with Zach. Like, yes, you are correct that maybe Milwaukee, if they're healthy in the playoffs, might be a little bit more dangerous than we've been giving people credit for, because Dame will be healthy. If Dame is healthy and Giannis and Brook and Middleton are all able to stay on the court together this season, when those 4 play together, they're a plus 16.9 per 100 possessions. That's very good. That definitely could help them in the playoffs for sure. I don't think that I think that one of the things that we've discussed is there's just a difference between regular season basketball and playoff basketball, and it's part of the reason why some of these numbers are not always translatable. It's because there are things that some things that might just be random, like hot shooting games, and the Miami run last year was there were no statistical indicators that run was coming at all, and it was probably an outlier. But I think we are leaving ourselves more susceptible to those kind of things happening in the playoffs as we lean more into fucking shooting variants and shit. So anyway, rant over.
Yeah,
it's impossible to predict.
Yeah. The point is, and I'm sorting the numbers by like total, like by like 4-man lineups and stuff like that. And it's all like Milwaukee, Denver, Boston combination. Yeah. It's like some OKC and Philly sprinkled in. Like, you know what I'm saying? Phoenix doesn't appear, they're like first they appear like 40 down, and that's not what you need. And that's
for their starting 5.
For their starting 4, and it's not even the Brad Beal.
Yeah, where did he even get those numbers? Where did Russillo get those numbers?
I'm not sure. It seems weird.
Yeah.
But it's like they're not good. I guess the point is Phoenix isn't good, I guess is what I'm saying.
What we're trying to get at here is that after all this psychotic rant that I just went on is that they're not Yeah, dude, all right, I'm looking at it right now. They're with their 5 starters, they're a plus 7.5. That's a good team. That's not a run you off the court team. Like,
yeah,
that's not even as good as the Celtics net rating over the court. And the Celtics are historically dominant this year. I'm not taking anything away from that, but that's not as good as their entire team for a whole game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's yes.
Yeah, you're not even like hitting that benchmark. I will say Phoenix, the game the Celtics played against Phoenix was one of the most fun games.
Yeah,
like first quarter, like Phoenix is really like fun to watch because they don't play good defense and they have like hoopers. Like they create a lot of good.
It was real
games. Yeah, they create a lot of good real hoops games. So check out Phoenix if you want to watch some real hoops.
I was going to say, if in terms of if you actually want to watch like fun games, they have some, because sometimes they just decide we're not playing defense today.
Right. Yeah.
Also, I think part of the mistake that I've made analyzing Phoenix, and everyone has made analyzing Phoenix, is like we're all like, well, Grayson Allen's having this amazing season, and Bradley Beal, when he's healthy, has been better than expected, and Nurkic is playing pretty well, and we keep running down these things. Almost all of their problems are on defense. None of their problems are on offense. They can score. Since they've got Royce O'Neal, I feel like they're putting up like 120 a game. And maybe they're a team that actually benefits from the new physicality too, because they have a lot of really good jump shooters, and Nurkic is super physical and all that shit. But the other thing is like, people pointed this out on Twitter the other day. They're basically just a worse version of the Clippers, where they just don't have, like Rob Flom pointed this out. He's like, they don't have the size for rebounding. They don't have the size for rim protection. They don't have the size outside of their, like, literally just Nurkic. And he's not good enough to put the entire defense on his back. Like almost all of their problems are defensive oriented. So anyway.
Yeah. Phoenix. I'm fading Phoenix. I will not be picking Phoenix depending on their matchup, but I really don't.
I was like, unless that's what I keep like. I just did that whole rant that probably contradicted myself 100 times, and I still am like, you could probably talk me into the right matchup for one of these teams, even though none of them have given me any chance. Like none of these bottom teams I should believe in at all, and I'm still like, but if they get the Timberwolves or they get the Kings or like, you know what I mean?
I'm doing the what's his name? Benedict Cumberbatch in the Marvel movies, Doctor Strange. I'm doing the Doctor Strange wiggle head. The one path where Denver doesn't win the West. Like
exactly.
Yeah. Trying to find it.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't,
the limit does not exist. Denver will win 100 times out of 100. But speaking of Denver, if you beat them, you're a contender. So we've had cycles of the Wolves, the Suns, and the Mavs. If you lose to them, like the Celtics did, by the way, the Celtics lost 2 one-possession games to the Nuggets, and everyone was like, I don't know if they can win the finals. And the reality is you'll probably have to beat Denver when you get there. But the fact that is the bar to make you a contender, and then also on top of that, if Jokic has a good game, this is the best player we've seen since LeBron Heat, and if he has a bad game, he just wasn't really interested in playing today.
Yeah.
So I'm like...
Yeah, Bill does that all the time. Like
he just never. I'm like, are you the guy?
Standard.
Yeah. Are you the guy that like shits his pants when Tatum has a game where he looks like a little bit out of it?
Yeah. And it's just like shrugging it off. Yeah, and saying like he said that about Jokic. Like weird game from Jokic. You know,
really disinterested. They were being super physical with him.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, do you care about that or not?
Yeah.
Like, because I agree, we shouldn't care about that in March. This is the problem. This is how everyone got Denver wrong last year. Was everyone got
not
confused.
Everyone.
Not everyone. A lot of people were like,
I didn't even pick them to win the West. I made the mistake of picking the Suns to win the West last year, so I can't say that.
Yeah, I'm trying. I don't know.
I definitely over-indexed too much at the end of the season.
Yeah,
but someone said that the Clippers were just doing what Denver did last year. And I was like, the Clippers are the 4 seed. Denver was the 1 seed by like it would be like if the Celtics stopped trying now.
Right.
You would be like, okay, like who cares? Like the season's fucking over. Like
they've already won 50 something games. 54 games? Like, you can stop now. Like, it's fine.
The point of this whole conversation is Jokic and the Nuggets have got the they should get the benefit of the doubt because they won the championship last year for sure. It's just funny to me that is the contender bar. Like can you beat the Nuggets in a random regular season game when Jokic doesn't care half the time? I guess the real conversation here is, and I think someone said this on Twitter, was if the Nuggets are willing to go small ball against you and put Gordon at the 5 and Jokic and Murray actually give a fuck about the game, is that the indicator that you're a contender? Because they think you're a contender.
Probably. But because that means especially because the other thing that's interesting was like Bill was making this point about like Boston. He was trying to like say that like Boston might have uncovered something with Nurkic because of like some defensive scheme, and I'm like, it's fucking March. Nobody, and it was like, I think he was like trying to say that they had like some tactical like something figured out, and I was just like, boy, I fucking hope not. Like, everyone's just fucking playing. You know what I'm saying? Like the Celtics have nothing to play for. Like there's no way they're showing their hand at this point. Like,
and it's also like game to game, no one's prepping for most of these games.
No, you just like show up. I mean, you can make like a small adjustment like here and there, but like Bill made it sound like the Celtics were the one to like figure this out, and it's like,
have the Celtics exposed the 7 seed Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, what is it? And he's like, I would have liked to see more people go at Nurkic this year. You can tell he's like mad about the Nurkic thing, about getting burned on that a little bit.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, God, I love Bill. I hadn't listened to the Simmons podcast in a while before this, and
apologies, they're actually the 8 seed right now. sorry to the Dallas Mavericks. Oh my. We've exposed the 8 seed Phoenix Suns.
Will they even win a playoff game?
Is Joe Maz the new Riz King?
Can I give you odds on something real quick before I forget? I wanted to ask you this question.
Yes.
All right. Yes or no question. A team that played in the in-season tournament championship will win a playoff game this year.
Oh my God. Whew. That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers, I don't think they're making the playoffs. So, by the way, a little something to keep an eye on. I believe the Houston Rockets are 3 games out of the 10 seed.
Let's go.
So Warriors better start winning some games. They're currently, and I think they have the tiebreaker, and they're 3 games back. Oh no, Şengün. I did forget about that. God damn it. Back to the Lakers thing. I think the Pacers will win the play. Will they? Will they beat the Heat or the Sixers in the play-in? I'm gonna go with no.
Yeah, it's a tough question. It's a tough question.
I think both of these teams, although the Pacers and the Heat have a chance just to get into the 6 seed, and then like you play the Cavs, they'll probably beat the Cavs in a game. If the Cavs are the 3 seed.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I was gonna say if they can get up to 6, I think they win a game. But
I can't believe that the fucking. It's just incredible to me that like we've gone throughout this whole season, and like my opinions have stayed pretty firm on like a handful of teams, but week to week I'm just like, I'm open to anything. Like I'm basically like Denver and Boston are the favorites, and then anything else could happen. Like I wouldn't be shocked if we got a bunch of 7-2 upsets.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if like the fucking I would be shocked if the Cavs were in the conference. I wouldn't be shocked if the Heat were in the conference finals. I wouldn't be shocked if the Knicks were in the conference finals. Like it's everything's so up in the air this year. I genuinely have never had a harder time trying to predict this shit. But
this is kind of the platonic ideal though, if you're the league, right?
They love this.
2 really strong teams and then parity underneath it. You know what I'm saying? So you still have like a Titanic finals like waiting at the end.
But also like
excited for.
I don't think it's impossible to beat the top team. It's not it's not like everyone always has these glory years about the Warriors Cavs years, and I was like, the playoffs fucking sucked a lot of those years. Yeah. And it wasn't like they were sweeping every team. Like they had 2017 was really the only year where I think they had like a combined like 2 losses in the playoffs, or say it was 2016, 2017. I think it was. They lost so few games that it was just like the logical conclusion or whatever. But like most of the times we knew it was going to be Warriors Cavs, and like maybe it was a harder road. Oh, the Rockets pushed them to 7, the Celtics pushed them to 7, but it was kind of lame just like knowing that was every single year. At least I think last year with the Heat making their crazy run. And the fact that it feels like the regular season matters less, I still think it's going to be Celtics Nuggets. But I think the fact that there's like this small chance that one of these teams could get upset just makes everything even more interesting. So you're going to get a lot of really good first and second round series, and then maybe even some potential upsets in the conference finals. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think the Celtics losing before the Eastern Conference Finals would feed families for a lot of
content. Would be crazy. Oh my god,
a lot of content.
The timeline would be going insane, dude. I mean, Tatum already set himself up. I don't know if you saw that clip, but he was like, I suck tonight. My teammates carried me. Like, I'm really glad that they're good. And everyone was like, this is going to go double platinum in the playoffs. Tatum shoots 7 for fucking 22 in a game. Yeah. It's the whole fucking timeline. But
no, they're not going to lose a game though. They're on their way. 12-0. 12-0 Boston Celtics going into the finals.
You know what's really funny is I do think that the path is going to be really hard. It's going to be like Heat, Knicks, Bucks, or Sixers or something. Yeah. And everyone's going to be like, this is such a hard path. And then I really think you guys would sweep the Heat. I know that sounds insane to say right now, but I'm just like, I kind of think that they'll just sweep the Heat and everyone will just be like, okay, maybe this is different.
My whole thing is, as much as I love like the Heat Devil Magic, like the Heat Devil Magic thing is such a thing. Like that is why it drove me like extra insane last year, because like it was like, even by Heat standards, it was so ridiculous last year. The amount of shit that like went right for the Caleb Martin shit in the conference finals. Like, for as much as everyone says, oh, you got off a lemon in Rob Williams. What up with the Heat and Gabe Vincent, huh? How about that fucking one?
He's only played like 6 games this season. Dude.
Yeah, it's insane.
6 games.
And he's done for the year, I think I read, right?
Yeah, he's done.
He's coming back, yeah.
No Christian Wood, no Jared Vanderbilt, and no Gabe Vincent for the rest of the season for the Lakers.
Like, I just like that's I know it's like fun for everyone to be like, oh, like Jimmy Butler, he's different, like, and like that stuff's all true to a certain extent. I'm sorry, that is not happening again. Like that's not happening again.
Let's go. I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
Did I just open a rift in hell?
I'm very excited.
Mammon, Asmodeus, Satan.
Okay, every once in a while, if I'm bored, I'll just go back and I'll look at Duncan Robinson shooting splits from the Bucks series.
Oh God!
I mean, if you're a Bucks fan, your best player gets hurt in the first game, and then Duncan Robinson shoots 14 for 19 from 3 in the series. He missed 5 threes.
That really is like satanic, dude. Like.
He went from not being in their rotation to averaging 20 points a game. No, he played 20 minutes a game, but he averaged 10 points in 20 minutes. He wasn't even in their rotation. He shot 73.7% from 3 in a playoff series. That's got to be some sort of record. It still blows my mind to this day. But
the other thing that's like so insane about that is that the Heat were dead in the water after Game 6. The Celtics pulled a miracle out of their ass with the Derek White put back.
Yeah, you had your own Satan. I think that is a little bit underrated. The Satan devil magic of the Derek White play.
Yeah, the Derek White play was a satanic thing, but then it just swung right back the other way with Jason Tatum getting injured in the first fucking quarter. Like, and that was it. It was over. Like, it was. Anyway, the point is that will not happen ever again. Clip this. I stand by it. If the Miami Heat beat the Boston Celtics again, I will. What's something that's feasible?
The conclusion is that Jason Tatum can never fail. He can only be injured.
Yeah, he can only be injured. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, I did have some all NBA stuff, but I think we'll save that for the Patreon episode later in this week. We'll do our all NBA teams later in the week. I mean, there's going to be 10 games left. Like, we know who's making it.
We'll do brackets too.
Oh, brackets. Let's go. I'm going to do some streams during March Madness just because I want to watch some Kentucky games in Colorado and any pro prospect games. I'll do some streams on playback if you want to watch them with me. But I don't know, man. College basketball is just the interest level.
What I was gonna say. When I was watching this, I was watching the Ivy League tournament, and I know it's the Ivy League, so obviously I forget how fucking awful college basketball is, dude. It is a bad product.
It's one thing if you're watching future pros playing in the Big Ten or the SEC or one of these major conferences, but when you're watching random teams, you're just this is brutal, dude. I don't know how people watch that shit all the time.
I turn into the NBA skeptic when I'm talking about the NCAA, where I'm like, yeah, I really only need to watch the last 5 minutes.
All the arguments that I make I get mad at people for making about the NBA, I make about college basketball. I become the purist. Get this disgusting basketball away from me.
Yeah, I know.
19-year-olds.
I just want to watch it. Go to this. But I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch the Williams brother and Kentucky.
Yeah. Those are really the ones that I'll be keeping an eye on. And then also there are some other. I'll probably watch the Tennessee games because of Dalton. And then I'll probably watch future Sixers backup center Zach Edey play for Purdue in his first round game and immediately get eliminated.
He does reek of a Morey pick. That's true.
Second rounder, everyone's like, whoa, and then he's a solid backup, and it's
I feel I honestly, Edey feels more to me a guy who gets picked 11th, he gets picked a Cam Johnson pick, and everyone's whoa, really high for Zach Edey, and then he's fine.
Right now, he was projected at one point to be a fringe lottery guy. He's fell back down again in the mocks for some reason. He's in the 20s or 30s, but I don't know. My thing with Zach Edey is we talked about this a little bit on the stream last night. If your expectations is that Zach Edey is going to go to the NBA and be a star, you're going to be very let down.
Yeah.
If your expectations are Zach Edey is the thing that we talked about before, he's 7'4". Worst case scenario, he's just a different version of Boban. Which is Boban was a serviceable backup center for 2 or 3 years.
I was watching that Phoenix game and just Bol just being tall and long did a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? A lot of work. I forget how much it's. If you have a freak out there, freaks can play, man. I'm sorry.
He's got a good combination.
You guys have Mo Bamba.
Yeah. Well, Mo Bamba sucks, but he can play 15 minutes in a game and sometimes not be the worst player on the court. A lot of times he is. But the thing with Edey is that he's a lot more skilled than Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba was drafted just on his tools. He was literally drafted because they were you have an 8-foot fucking wingspan basically, and you're a big who can shoot threes, and the problem is he's bad at basketball. He's a physical marvel, but he's not good at. Zach Edey is a good basketball player. He's just not built for the modern NBA to be a star or a high impact player. He might be a fringe starter, a good backup. He might be a guy who can play 15, 20 minutes a game and give you he's got good touch. He's I said, he's 7'4". He can rebound the shit out of the ball. His defense has been better this year. I think whoever takes Zach Edey, as long as they don't take him with crazy expectations, is going to be happy with the pick. And that's part of the reason why I just I would be fine with, honestly, I'd be fine with the Sixers taking him if they had the 18th pick in the draft. I'm to the point where I'm in a draft that just has so many question marks. I'm fine with taking a guy I think is probably more of a sure thing, as at least a solid rotation big. So yeah. Then he's going to lose to who are they playing? Like San Fernando State or something in the first round. Like, I don't even know who they're playing this year, but they lose. I think they've lost in the first round. That's a Matt Painter thing, probably more than anything. But here, let me pull it up real quick. I have been so checked out of college basketball.
It's a good year. It's a good year to be pretty checked out. There's not a lot of.
We don't even know who they're playing yet, because they play the 16th. Because remember, they do the early games now.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not playing anyone. By the way, can I just put this in your Zach Edey, Canadian player?
Toronto Raptors.
Zach Edey, Toronto Raptors.
They have three first round picks this year, or 3 high picks. They could have their own pick at 6 if the lottery breaks for them. They have the Pacers pick at 16, and then they have the Pistons pick at 32.
God, they have the 32nd pick too. God damn, dude.
Yep.
Is Masai going to get away with it? They might get away with it.
Get away with what?
Being a playoff team next year.
No way, dude. No way.
We'll see.
They have to acquire a good basketball player, more good basketball players first. The East is the NBA is just too good to make it like that now, unless Scotty Barnes becomes like a star, even bigger star. Like
Grady Dick is back. He's making 8th grade jokes on national TV.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Who's the worst player on a playoff team in the East this year? It's Paolo Banchero, right?
The best.
I'm sorry. The worst best player.
Best player. Yeah, it's Paolo. Yes.
Okay.
Or Halliburton. Since
I still think Halliburton is better than Paolo, but right now in March 19th, 2024.
One of those guys. It's one of those guys.
But either way,
yeah.
That's the level Scotty's got to get to for them to make the playoffs. Or the team just has to be massive improvements on that roster.
He's faded down the stretch, but he was playing at that level for like 2 or 3 months. Like, you go back and like look at the splits. He was up there with Halliburton. He was like on all those, like, he's had a pretty similar season to Halliburton, honestly. So like, I don't know, like, was it a little Mickey Mouse? Probably. Is it a coincidence that he faded once they started, like, they got more real players and they couldn't just like bump his fucking numbers with they
were inflating his EPM with like all these insane defenders and shit. I mean, he's a good player, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm just like, the way that Halliburton played for the first 2 months of the season, I don't know if Scotty Barnes is actually capable of that.
We'll see. I don't know. I think that the Raptors could get some talent. I think they're really good at scouting. I think they're one of the better drafting teams out there, and I think they're really good at scouting and figure who was their draft pick this year? Oh, I guess Grady Dick. I guess it's strike.
Yeah, they made a good draft. That's the thing, is that I talked about this on Twitter earlier, and I actually think that all the teams we think are quote unquote good drafting teams are almost all just product of having a high volume of picks and moving on from taking big swings and moving on from their mistakes within a year or two. Like, that's really like the Grizzlies, OKC, all these teams, and now the Raptors have a chance again. They finally have draft picks again. Because remember, they punted on the draft for like 3 straight years. They were just trading their picks.
Yeah, that was the issue, is they were trading for like Thad Young. I know they picked like Malachi Flynn and like
it wasn't good.
Christian Coloco.
That was a health thing. I mean, like, I can't really hold that against him, even if, he probably wasn't going to be anything more than a rotation big. But like, if you look at the history of their picks, they are good. They also haven't had a real hit in the draft since like OG Anunoby. Well, Scotty Barnes.
Barnes,
sure. Okay. Yeah. So you have Scotty and then a bunch of nothing. So this will be the real test for the Raptors. This draft is going to be a huge test. If they come out of this draft with like 2 NBA guys, then sure, they might be back. But
I'm keeping an eye on the Raptors as like a play-in team next year. So.
Bookmark. Oh, play it. Okay, fine, fair.
Yeah,
fair. All right.
I think they could be an interesting young team. I trust Masai with like this level of team. Like, they didn't do anything like really stupid like that. This is the first year they haven't done anything really stupid like at some point in the year. Yeah. And like they finally got done with their they finally traded all their guys. You know what I'm saying? They stopped being annoying. So like I think they can actually do real work on like getting their team together, and Masai's good at that. So
I would argue that trading a first round pick for Kelly Olynyk and then signing him to a contract you could have offered him in free agency anyway was stupid. But to each their own.
Sometimes you just got to get a guy in there.
You got to get a guy in a half a season early.
He's a good player. Now, was it good process to trade a first round pick for him? Probably not.
You could have just offered him the MLE. He was not getting more than that in free agency. Obviously, he signed the extension. And then, the first round pick was for Ochai Agbaji. Ochai Agbaji stinks. I feel like Verno right now. He stinks.
He stinks.
You traded a first round pick for Ochai Agbaji.
You giving up a first round pick? Come on, man.
He's a male model. He's not a basketball player. He's a very handsome man.
Ochai Agbaji. Now, let me tell you something, Kev. I bet you think Isaac Okoro is someone they should be trading for too, huh? That's what you think.